Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. Everybody can rise and say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First question, call the roll.
Trustee Brown?
I'm here.
Trustee Clark?
Here.
Trustee Lynch? Trustee Rowe? Here. Trustee Taylor? Here. Trustee Williams?
Present.
Trustee Lynch?
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion for the approval of the board meeting minutes of March 5th, 2024?
So moved.
Trustee Williams. Trustee Clark. Any questions? Changes? Corrections? For question, call the roll.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Lynch? Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe? Trustee Taylor? Trustee Williams? Trustee Williams?
Present.
Treasurer's report. Unfortunately, Treasurer Hart is not here, so I'll read the bills payable. Bills payable March 14, 2024, corporate $85,076.27. Sewer and water $93,897.11. Glenwood Golf Course $28,234.83. Tiff House at North $405,017.50 for a total of all funds $612,225.71. Somebody like to make a motion? Trustee Taylor, do we have a second? Second. Trustee Clark, any questions? For question, call the roll.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Lynch?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe? Trustee Taylor? Yes. Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Payroll as of the date of March 8, 2024, corporate $147,550.07. Sewer and water $32,965.60. Holiday pay $2,375. Paid on call $9,050.85. Elected positions $8,675.44. Woody Golf $13,593.82. Vendor checks $2,614.54. Overtime police $5,633.58. Which reimbursable amount is $687.51. Sewer and water $1,041.12. Public Works overtime $560.61. Economic Development stipend $461.52 for a total payroll of $223,799.65. Somebody like to make a motion? Trustee Taylor, do we have a second?
Got it. Second.
Trustee Williams, are there any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I just got a question. For the treasurer's salary, did we raise the salary for the treasurer?
Yeah, we raised it, gotta be 5 years ago or 6 years ago.
But I mean recently, because that's a little higher than what I thought it was.
Yeah, I think it's $12,000 a year. It might be 10. We did it so long ago, I can't remember.
I thought we increased a little bit also for the
We increased the contracts.
yeah.
We increased.
I mean recently. Did we increase because she's doing more of the data entry?
Yes.
So that.
So she's doing that this hour. I thought you were talking about their ordinance.
So is that what those charges are all together?
Correct.
Because I wasn't aware of that. Okay.
Any other questions?
Of the increase? Right. I think that was not 2 months ago. I mean, she might have told you, but no, the board, there was because but the company that we're contracting with that does the data entry for that, some of those roles are switched. I don't know nothing on that.
Yeah, the only.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Yeah, I have a question. So I noticed that talking about this same subject, okay, with the treasury report, so it fluctuates. So like the last time with her salary was different than it is this time.
Yeah, there's a set dollar amount, and I'm not sure if it's $10,000 or $12,000, but she's helping
And that's
the
fine,
accounting company.
that she's helping. So do you think that just how our salaries are just set, and we can see them on the spreadsheet, that's how much we make, that's how much we make. So, you know how we have fire has overtime, police has overtime, it's on a different line. You think then that extra that she does, I'm just asking, I'm new, should be on a different line?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay, so that we know this is how much she makes, but this is how much she helps.
Can you have Maria make sure?
Because mine's not gonna change.
Isn't that on the Excel spreadsheet?
No, it's
No,
not,
no,
no,
the little hours on the Excel spreadsheet?
no.
She submits a time sheet. I want to see something on there.
But if you could just put another line item on your treasury
Okay.
and break it down.
We'll show it kind of like we do the economic development statement. We'll have a way where it's broken out.
Okay. Any other questions? Or question, call roll.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Taylor? Yes. Trustee Rowe?
No.
Trustee Lynch?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Brown?
No.
Okay, the meeting is now open to the public. Anything you want to come and ask the board, you can come up, you got to write your name and address down, and you can address the board. Got somebody beat? Can you hit the button there? Is it green?
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, what's your address again?
166 West Latta Street in Glenwood.
Okay.
I've lived here for 26 years. Latta Street ends up being a dead end. And so is South Wabash Avenue. Both streets are in horrid condition. They have big, huge holes that you can't avoid. And the streets just, I've seen better looking alleys. It's
That street is on our list for this year.
oh, I hope so, because I've been complaining, but I don't know who I'm complaining
Yeah,
to.
we added, we researched all the roads in town, and yours was one of the ones that we're going to pay.
Okay, so that is on
It
me.
is. You can call me anytime. Call the village hall and ask for any,
Well, right now too, those big holes, they make it almost impossible to, you're trying to turn to get on Main Street, and you're hitting all these big, huge holes.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll have Public Works patch those until we fix it permanently.
If something to be done, right away with that,
Have
but,
Public Works do that tomorrow. Okay. We're going to fix it.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Board. Good evening. Leon Fields, 307 Minerva. I'm going to be brief tonight.
No.
I'll believe it when I see it, man.
Okay. I have some photos. And one is at Farmer Road, going in the westbound direction in Kipsey. Olympia Field has 3 signs posted. You'll see the pictures as they come along. They have dedicated truck routes, and they direct the trucks away from some of the traffic areas. So it can be done. You know, that was my concern previously in directing drug traffic. So we talked about that before. The other picture is a picture of the back of a dump truck. And it tells you to keep 100 feet distance. And we're not responsible for damage to your vehicle. It's right there on the sign. You don't see it on all trucks, but you do see it on some. So that's one that does have it. I think it was in June of 2023 when I sent an email to Brian Mitchell titled Dust Cloud. And the gravel was spilled on Glenwood Lansing Road. And I sent him this memo because it created a dust cloud, and more than that too. You pick up into your tires and then you throw it into another vehicle, you're an expressway, etc. And he took care of that. I don't know what he did. I don't know if he did a rain dance or what he did, but he got that dust up, got everything cleared away. But it is a concern. It can be a hazard. Secondly, Mr. Mayor, the appointments that you're making, I hope you will consider Economic Development Committee, strengthening that committee.
Sorry, what?
The Economic Development Committee considers strengthening that committee. You know, I'm old school, and one time we had fall days where Glenwood, Lansing Road, we had businesses, and we'd walk, and we would go in and we'd buy things, and they would give away. And right now, we're coming to the village, we come around and make the turn in Glenwood, Oaks. We don't have another business until you get to, really, I guess, Gabe's Place. I know it's one being built now, but at one time that was a booming area. So maybe we can do something to dress up Main Street. So I think, I know, but there used to be businesses there. The Emmets, Madden's, there were businesses along that way. They don't exist right now.
They're all occupied. They're all occupied.
Well, even on the other side, you know, where the Sun Center is, where we had San Pantello's, I mean, there were some businesses there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The area can be developed, and I think we should have some business. Thank you very much. I think we could work on doing something to dress up Main Street. That's where we got heavy traffic. And we get tons of traffic on Main Street, especially for my Indiana friends. When 80 is out, they come to Glenwood Road. So, you know, we have a lot of traffic on Glenwood, Lansing Road, whatever we can do to dress it up. My hope is that we do not give any Class 8s or any more incentives to trucking companies. And you only need to look at my memo to see my feelings and the feelings of people who have respiration issues, etc. Those diesels are deadly, and there's a lot of things that are happening right now, and I think the tide is going to turn, but I'm not going to get into that. The engineering person is not here, but my question is, are there any updates on getting the lead out? I want to commend Trustee Brown. She came to our homeowners meeting.
Thank you.
And the people were kind of confused about the cars that were down by the village, basically by the engineering firm. They didn't quite understand how to do it. Some people didn't receive the cards. So there needs to be some kind of follow-up on that, getting the lead out.
Yes, some houses didn't do anything, but Chief, why don't you?
Actually, the potholing, I believe that you're referring to, that started yesterday. They started on the west side of town heading east, but the ones that did not get cars don't have any possibility of having a lead, so they're safe. We could probably get another notice out so that everybody understands that. But the ones that need the potholing, and Dave's with his daughter tonight, and Joe's off sick, but they're started that process, so those homes that need to be tested, and they do it in the yard, they don't have to go inside, they go down to the water line and examine it and test it, so it's in process already.
Okay, question, was that, when he mentioned phase 2, is that phase 2?
No, this is phase one, the identification.
We still in phase one.
That's how much the federal government has granted at this point. You complete phase one, go back with the report, and then get the next direction.
Okay, thank you. The last thing is, as you going down Glenwood Road, as you turn off into Young Street by the gate, I think Wheeler brought it up, Lori Wheeler brought it up. It's rubbed out, the turn on the arrow. And I've had 3 situations where I've had cars pull up on the left side, like they're gonna make the turn on Young Street, and they don't make the turn, they just proceed across. And I don't know, give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe they don't see it or didn't know that was a turn on, like.
Yeah, we're gonna redo striping along Main Street. We bought a striping machine. It was just too cold, and now it's starting to warm up. We should be able to do it soon.
Is that a duty of public works though, because doesn't the county do that?
No, not what you're talking about. We own Main Street.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you, Mr. Fields. My name is Naomi. Pardon me? Press the button.
It's on.
It was on. My name is Naomi LaPresto. I come before you representing the advisory for the committee to the people trustees of Dalton. And right now, the trustees of Jason House, Keon Belcher, Brittany Norwood, and Tammy Brown. Our committees consist of residents of Dalton who are planning a rally for the township, which includes 17 municipalities, which includes your village, and we would like to invite you to join us. We know that there is strength in numbers, so once we have a date and time, we will let you know. But for right now, I would like to know if there's a possibility that I can get a contact person that can relay the information to in case there's someone that would like to participate.
You could contact Brian Mitchell, our village administrator.
Okay. And I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Anybody else want to address the board?
I would like to request that the village would take a look at the condos between Glenwood Road, between Minerva and Cottage Grove.
Okay.
And on the garage doors, every one of them is a different color. And I feel that it's an eyesore and a nuisance when people driving through Glenwood sees that. Doesn't take much for them to paint those or color. So I'd like for you to take a look at it, please. And that's all I have to say.
I'll call the management company. I know the management company. Our white property, so I'll call them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else wishing to address the board? Okay. Communications from the mayor's office. The appointment that I was going to make tonight, you could not make it, so I'll move it to the next board meeting. So if I could get a motion to table that. Trustee Lynch, so get a second.
Second.
Second, Trustee Brown. Any questions? Clerk, question, call roll.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Lynch?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe? Yes. Trustee Taylor? Yes. Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Attorney's report, John Donnie.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everyone. First item I have is approval of a resolution authorizing entry onto property and property rights for the Village of Glenwood Section 219 Water Infrastructure Improvements Project. This relates to the Army Corps project that the mayor was able to secure secure a grant for, I think, 1.2 million?
Almost done.
Yeah, and the way this works is the Army Corps of Engineers, which is a department of the federal government, is going to actually bid and award this work and pay for it. So they need the rights to enter onto the property on which the village owns that the work is going to be done on, and this includes a temporary easement only area, includes the area where the work is going to be done, all of those of which are owned by the village of Glenwood, and includes an area of a couple of rights of way, and an easement that the village has from the Glenwood school. So that's all this does, is it approves the federal government and its agents and contractors the ability to enter on that property for that project.
So I'd like to make a motion for the approval of a resolution authorizing entry onto property and property rights to the Village of Glenwood Section 219 Water Infrastructure Improvement Project. Trustee Clark. Trustee Taylor. Do we have any additional questions?
Is the 1.2 million solely earmarked for this project?
Yeah, it comes from, we don't see it, it's paid for by the Army Corps to contractors, which they bid for and then hire and manage that complete the work.
So what area?
It's the expansion of the existing detention pond by the Chase Bank and Glenwood School property there. That's going to be expanded. We already own that lot 7, and we own the lot behind it, which is known as lot 8.
It's going to help drain into the south end of the plaza.
You know, what the purpose is?
Yeah, ultimately,
But it's also going to help out the estates too. There's a little flooding in the estates that will help out both residential and commercial sites.
So will this have any impact on the park?
No. Any additional questions? For question, call the roll.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Rowe?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Lynch?
Yes.
Trustee Taylor? Yes.
Item 2, it's approval of a resolution authorizing the acceptance of an Urban Area Security Initiative Award. The village has received this award from the county in the amount of $30,330.99. It's for camera and security video equipment, servers, and things like that. And they require us to formally approve the award, as well as a separate sub-recipient agreement that they will be sending.
So I'd like to make a motion for the approval of a resolution authorizing the acceptance of an Urban Area Security Initiative Award. Trustee Taylor. Do we have a second? Trustee Clark. Do we have any questions? For question, call the roll.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Lynch?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe? Yes. Trustee Taylor? Yes. Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Item 3 is approval of a resolution supporting and consenting to a Cook County Class A property tax incentive application for certain property located in Glenwood. The PIN numbers are on the ordinance in your packet. These are on Holbrook Road. There are 2 PINs that were initially purchased by a tax buyer for the failure to pay taxes on those PINs. He now has a contract to support sell it to Kevin. Do you know the name of the entity?
They're here right now, but if they can make a, if you'd like to make a presentation, then I can follow.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Andy Weeks. And so it'll be our family that would be buying this building and running this business. The business is a specialty used car dealership that would focus on semi-classic cars. It's a specialty of my son and sort of passion for the whole family. It would not be, I would say, a traditional car dealership. We would not have any inventory outside. It would be largely not a storefront business, mostly internet marketed. We, I guess, expect to have maybe 4 to 6 employees over the next couple of years as we grow this business. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to ask them.
I have a few. So this will be a specialty car dealership. selling product or is it more of an exhibit?
No, just selling, so we're buying semi-classic cars. These are cars that we believe are heading towards collector status. Buying them, maybe holding them for a short while, and selling them hopefully at a profit, right? But it's traditional dealership in the sense that we're buying and selling cars.
That's right. Okay. So do you guys have any locations in the world?
No, this would be the only location.
Any other questions?
So there's the secret. So is this there was more than one pin. Is this the only business that's seeking a Class A?
Yes, there are two pins. Located there is a shell building that was never completed. Doesn't have any utility service, any water or sewer hookups. It's just a shell that they'll need to then build up, use for their purposes. I think the building is on one lot and a little bit on the second lot. Most of the second lot they would use for parking and.
Just so everybody knows, these are the steel buildings over by the roller rink and on the south side of the hole. Any other questions?
I have a quick question. I mean, I'm assuming that you would have normal business hours.
So there are requirements as a dealership to have business hours. Probably not. The requirements are a total of 20 hours a week, and given our non-storefront, we probably wouldn't go beyond 20 hours a week.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So 20 hours a week, 5 days a week?
Correct. Well, no, it's a requirement to be open at least 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's the state requirement for a dealership.
Any other questions? Chief, did you want to say anything?
No, other than I think John hit it. This is the building on the west end of the failed MAC development that went through a whole tax process. We haven't received a penny in real estate tax dollars on this for almost 10 years. I believe this will start this on at least a tax road ahead, and we'll be getting sales tax. So Mr. Weeks has a plan to put a considerable amount of money into this project and enhance that whole area. And I can tell you, if Tiffany was still here, she could affirm it. When those went on the market, we have been inundated with requests about those properties. And believe me, they've been everything from pallet companies to junkyards to trucking outfits to everything else. And we've rejected everything at this point. It seems to be a very nice fit to that neighborhood.
Any other questions? No questions, call the roll.
Thank you all.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Lynch?
No.
Trustee Worrell?
Yes.
Trustee Taylor? Yes. Trustee Williams?
Welcome to Glenwood.
Good luck to you.
Next, item 4.
Next item is approval of a joint defense agreement. The village is a defendant in a lawsuit by the Washland Company. Our co-defendant is the Plaza of Glenwood, which currently owns the property. Mr. Stumpf and his wife are here. What they want to do is at some point sit down with us and have a strategy session to discuss the case and how to respond to it and strategize through it. The approval of the joint defense agreement is a mechanism that is commonly used by attorneys for different parties who are going to be doing this kind of discussion in order to maintain the attorney-client.
Does anybody have any questions?
I do. So we're currently in litigation with the owners of the property.
Yes.
So this agreement would be between.
It's between the village and our co-defendant, Plaza of Glenwood.
So what's the purpose? What's the
Strategy.
What's the strategy?
Well, we want to discuss that here just to discuss some of the audience.
Well, probably should. Can we table this for closed session? I mean, because I guess my concern is, and I understand not let the cat out of the bag, but I just want to know, because why are we going to re-engage in a contract with the owners,
We're not, this is not a re-engaging in any agreement with them. We've already sold them the property. They own it, subject to the wash land lease. This is just a means by which states that we're going to cooperate in the defense, and it's our strategy, and it's a way to make sure that the attorney-client privilege is maintained.
Any other questions?
What do we look for as a result?
The ability to discuss, strategize of the case with our co-defendants.
Would somebody like to make a motion for the approval of a joint defense agreement?
I'd like some motion to table.
There's a motion to table.
I second.
Trustee Brown voted to table, and so did Trustee Lynch. Clerk Washington, call roll.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Lynch?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe? Yes. Trustee Taylor? Yes. Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Anything else, John?
No, that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Village Administrator Brian Mitchell.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees, residents and guests. Had a couple things to kind of go through tonight. First, I want to start off. Yesterday, we had a great meeting with IDOT. One thing about IDOT is, we made several calls to them. We sent several emails. The mayor has emailed. We've heard the concerns from the residents for probably the last at least 6 or 7 meetings in terms of the streets that need to be repaired. At this meeting, Omar Olsman was there, who is the actual secretary of IDOT. So he is number one at IDOT. So the meeting started, I want to say, Mayor, around 11:30, and I think we left there about 3:30. We were able not only to have a meeting with several other mayors and managers, but we were able to have time with our public works director, our fire chief, our engineer, the mayor, and myself in a separate conversation with IDOT and his entire team in terms of issues that have come up that either staff has addressed, the engineering has addressed, or that the residents involved. So with that being said, we were able to get them to commit to not only trying to do better, but to come out and look at some of the areas and concerns that have been brought up. What they do is they run on a rating scale, and we said, we can understand the rating scale. However, when you have roads where you have potholes, where you're basically weaving in and out of traffic, the rating scale may not necessarily give you what you need, but it needs to be looked at, and we need to figure out how to address it. So, Mayor, thank you for your attendance at the meeting as well. The next item that I want to discuss tonight is we're still going through some interviews for the finance department, and in the next board meeting, we should have some to bring forward with recommendation for a couple of positions that have been vacant. Looking at the items that I have before you tonight, one thing I want to talk about is which is very important, is the 4th of July. Every year, for the last few years, we've done fireworks. It's been something that historically we've done. I met with the chief from the police department, chief from the fire department, the deputy chiefs, and also Joe, the director from Public Works, in an effort to try to begin to plan. The planning this year is not only about the fireworks, but more importantly, it's about safety. I asked the chief of the police department, Chief Pettyford, to put together a couple things which were just passed out to you to take a look at. So if you have any questions, he's here to answer your questions. Before we get to that, last year, for those that attended, we did have some guests that were unexpected, and we had limited resources to deal with that. Nevertheless, under the direction of our public safety departments, we were able to get through the evening with minimal issues. With that being said, we now want to be proactive this year and make sure we have the resources that are needed and necessary to protect the community and make sure that we have a safe event should the board decide to have an event. On July 3rd last year, Chicago Heights had their fireworks, and they had similar, if not, I'd be free to say, worse problems that dispersed out into the neighborhoods. This year, Chicago Heights, it has been reported to us that they are not, and I have to repeat, they are not doing their fireworks on July 3rd. So here we are doing our fireworks on July 4th. Flossmoor has also reported to us that they canceled several of their events. Basically, as a result of bad actors, as they say, and the risk to the public. So when you look at the information that is before you, one thing we need to do is by the next board meeting, we need to make a decision not only on the fireworks, but the recommendation of the other ancillary costs to make sure that we can be proactive to have a safe event. Last year, the fireworks cost us $17,500. This year, the fireworks has been quoted at $20,000. There is an option. You have to make a decision tonight. There's something to think about. There is an option for $20,000 for 1 year, or if we want to lock in a 3-year contract, the fireworks is $20,000 for the first, $22,000 for the second, and $24,000 for the third year. As you look at the memo that's in front of you from the chief, you see a grand total estimate of enhanced security, and I won't go into the detail of it as we don't necessarily want to put out how we would go about that, and you see the drawing that the chief has put out there as well. But that cost will be about $14,000. And then we need to look at the cost for the fire department and public works. Using round numbers, that puts us at another $4,000, I'm sorry. So we're right about $18,000, round numbers, $20,000. That's before we talk about DJing and entertainment. So the thought here is, if the board wants to move forward with the fireworks, number one, we need to make a decision on the contract by the next board meeting, and the recommendation from staff would be to follow the things that are outlined in terms of fencing, outside security. This is the memo that is in front of you. So my question is, right now, not to make a decision on the contract, Mr. Rick, does the board want to move forward with the fireworks, knowing that we need to do the enhanced security package?
Anybody have any questions? Any questions? It's just a matter of, we want to continue to have the fireworks and parade and things along those lines that we've always done before.
So I think that we had a premature discussion about it. So I think that the safest thing, considering if last year's fireworks total at $17,000 and they're coming in at $20,000 this year, I already estimate that there's going to be a inflation year over year. And I think that one of the other things to look at is just the language of the contract to cancel. They indicated that they would cancel with no fees to the village, considering it was canceled in a specific time frame. I think that with what other towns are doing, I think it has to be expected that with them canceling their fireworks show, it's going to be a significant increase in attendees for ours. I think it's a benefit to the village. I think it's something that a lot of the residents look forward to. But I also think that if we are be conscious with cost saving, it would be best to possibly entertain the 3-year contract, considering there is no ramifications for us to cancel at any given time, obviously prior to the date to review the contract. So I think that the telltale sign will specifically be this year, and how July 4th plays out. And I think immediately following that, we will be able to make a recommendation how we're going to move forward for canceling, should we need to, for the following 2 years. But if last year's cost was $17,000 and this year's $20,000, I mean, whether that's partially inflation and partially just the vendor going up on price, there's an increase. So I would feel it'd be better to just go ahead and lock in the price and need to cancel with no backlash.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll put this on the agenda. We can't vote on it tonight anyways. Let's put it on the next agenda.
Okay, Mayor, if I would just make one point, can we say that we would at least commit to doing it this year? The reason I say that is that at least they then know we're going to have at least a fireworks show. The question would be if we approve the 3-year contract.
We can't make the decision until the next board.
Okay.
I have a question. So it's not just about the contract, right? It's also about the fencing, it's about the outside security, the things also that we need to talk about. So if we're just asking questions, my question will be what kind of fence what would the fence look like? I'm assuming it would be a temporary fence. And I see on the negative side, the fence can be viewed negatively. On the positive side, it can, you know, provide some security, but like how tall is the fence?
Chief, you got a fence before, right?
I know.
You know, before I think there was, I don't know if it's flooding. There was a fence up before.
If it was
I don't even.
not for the 4th of July, but I know there might have been some that orange snow fencing for flooded areas. This is, what the quote is for securing the paved area where the vendors, the music was, along with a like a 100-foot extension into the grassy area where people set up their blankets and their picnics, stuff like that, to have that area secured where we would have secure checkpoints coming in and out of there. It would be a temporary 6-foot fence.
Like a chain fence?
Yes.
I guess we're gonna discuss.
But part of this,
We're gonna discuss this further, but, is this gonna be like a reusable fence?
this will be the fence company will put it in on 3rd and pick it up with 5th. It's just a rental quote that I have. If we're looking to purchase it, trying to get another talk with Public Works to see if that's something in their wheelhouse if they're familiar with. So they have a quote for a temporary fencing company for special events.
So if the trustees could think about it over the next 2 weeks, and we'll put it on the next board meeting.
I just have one more question.
Sure.
Chief, just from your assessment, what do you expect the need for additional security or off-limit officers?
I'm not sure, I don't know if you were there last year, but as VA Mitchell said, we had issues, Chicago Heights had issues at their event, and we did at ours, and we had issues with a lot of flash mob activity, people trying to start stampedes, we had miscellaneous fights, and during this we had called ILEAS, which is the Illinois Law Enforcement Emergency Alarm System, to ask for additional units. We were denied because there were no resources available, because everybody was dealing with their own individual stuff and nobody could spare officers. It had just gotten that bad area-wide. So we were fortunate enough that we already had a SWAT team element here that we requested beforehand. So we had 4 SWAT operators staying by to assist us, and we had to actually end up mobilizing them to help perimeter because we were getting just many different Uber and Lyft rides just dropping off carloads of people that were unaccompanied minors. You know, someone made sure us a text that there was going to be, you know, a flash mob. There was a huge event gathering. They were going to, you know, do some, you know, start fights and things of that nature that we did not want. There was fabricated flyers that this was at Glenwood. We had a huge festival with rides and things like that. So we were getting inundated with people who were looking for something more than what it was. And we were not able. We were fortunate enough that we were able to maintain it with the help of Cook County Sheriff's had a tactical unit rights. We were able to spare several officers. This is, in addition to the officers, we had already ordered in canceled days off. So we were talking with Joe from Public Works while they were out there parking the cars and doing that. They were being harassed by some of the attendees. We did not have enough officers to staff the event, the parking, and the calls for service out on the street. So culminate that with the fact that some other towns, especially Chicago Heights and Foster, have canceled their events. I'm anticipating that the people that would normally go those will come here.
So let me ask you, Chief, the $1 million question. Chief Walsh, you can answer too. What's your recommendation on having this in terms of being able to provide adequate safety and security from both fire side and police side?
I think that it's a matter of if the village wants to do it, we can.
Well, we know that, but I'm
take resources more than we have in the past, because the things that we've seen over the last year, especially before, have changed the dynamic of the vibe of the event. I recommend if we're going to do it, we're going to have to have the extra safety security measures in place
And so outside of additional security personnel and fencing, that's the only suggestion.
That's the start, that's the rough draft start of my initial recommendations, I would do. So I would definitely do more work on it to determine what all we can do to make it as safe as possible.
Chief Welch?
We're both in the same boat of minimum staffing, and especially on a holiday, we gotta cancel holidays, and could we do it? Yeah, we could do it, but, I mean, for those of us who were in the middle of it last year, it was pretty precarious and pretty scary, so if we're gonna do it, we need to do it with the full force of what the chief needs, because that got real close last year. And our problem, the chief's problem is really perimeter security. It's a giant golf course. We've never even considered having to secure off the golf course area, but that's exactly what happened to us. They found a way to get around, and they were out on the course, heading south to go where they were lighting the fireworks. So it's more Chief Bettycourt's issue, but we all get involved in it. It's going to cost us some money to make it secure.
So, last thing there, Brian, maybe it would chiefs and maybe the board also to consider capacity, because if we just cut off that amount of cars, just let people in.
Well, we started, some talks in terms of, do we want to make it for residents only? When you pull in, we want to see the village sticker. If you don't have a village sticker, then what's option B? Do we want to charge $10 a car, $20 a car? I think those are the things that, like the chief said, he'll drill down a little bit more before the next meeting.
And I have one quick question, Chief. So considering all of that, because I was there last year and I was a vendor, so I saw it firsthand when when the girls started screaming and everybody started doing that. Can you or can we say no backpacks? Because a lot of them have backpacks and a lot of them have ski masks.
I would certainly like to do that.
Okay.
That's part of the recommendation plan that VA Mitchell has.
Great idea.
Okay, this will be on the next board meeting. Do you have anything else?
Yes, a couple of items. One thing that we brought to the board was looking at the deposits and the charges on the field house. Next board meeting, we will have before you some recommendations. Staff is doing some due diligence right now in terms of cost in neighboring communities. But then again, like I said, the board wanted to make sure that the facilities were brought up to date. We're almost done with the last one. I think we're probably a couple days out. Now they're up to date. We want to make sure that they stay that way, make sure the deposit is there, and then make sure that people are paying what it costs when you look at neighboring communities. A couple more items.
I'm sorry. So right now, I was over at our Quillis Day to look at, and those field houses look fantastic. So thank you all for making that come together. They look really nice. I think that we, in fact, are really below market rate for what we're charging for those field houses for rentals compared to other towns. But one of them, and what I did notice is that people are already taking things to the wall and tape is coming off. And then my understanding is, I don't believe it's changed, but correct me if I'm wrong, for deposits, people use a card. They don't give cash for deposits. My concern with that is, especially with the work that's going into revitalizing, until we are able to switch over to a new platform, can we now require cash deposits that are held? Because, and I'm sure it's no secret, that people who are going to, first of all, they know that it's extremely cheap to rent. And if they cause damage, if you put it on your debit or credit card, I can lock all of my debit and credit cards from my phone. And so if there's a fee to be assessed, especially if they don't, they live in Glenwood, we can add it to the tax bill, ready to sell a house, but that's more money in legal fees than it's worth getting a deposit. So is it worth in the interim to institute a cash-only deposit until we get the system in place?
Right, so good question. What we're looking at, Tiffany and I talked about that yesterday. We're clearly looking for another platform that will help us to get that deposit. But until then, we need to have a conversation with Chief Petticourt
Because if the person comes in to get the key, that's when they would put the cash deposit up, and they wouldn't get that cash deposit back until, say, at the latest Tuesday the following week. When they rent on the weekends, when Public Works does their rounds, on Sunday morning, the first thing, they go in, they check the field houses.
So is that actually happening? Are they checking?
Yeah, they're checking, right, they're checking. We found there was a little lapse there, but we fixed that last week. So they check on Sunday morning, that then lets us know if there's any damage that would have had to happen on Saturday. That then gets reported to Tiffany on Monday morning. If a person on Monday morning when they come in, they go back and check the field house and see if there's any additional damage from what they found on Saturday, that gets reported. So what that does is that gives us protection of whoever in on Saturday and whoever in on Sunday. But one thing we have to talk with Chief Petticourt is because when people come to get the keys from the field house, that's where they come to the police department.
So at this point, it's just a matter of figuring out who would, if they just leave the deposit with Tiffany when they make the reservation?
Well, people do it online.
So they would have to be required to come in and make the deposit.
Right, I mean, those are things we have to change.
My hope is that if nothing else, we immediately enforce the cash deposit rule. Because, and let me again, those field houses are really nice now. They are really nice. And to know that we are the cheapest locally, we probably getting inundated with reservations, and to know that, hey, I can just turn my debit card off or not have to worry about anything, because I just think that we've invested in this community, we should keep it upright, and I think that the best way to do that is if you start messing with people's money, they move and act different. So I hope that we can look at that.
Right.
Bring your recommendations to the next board meeting.
Okay, no problem. And then a couple last things here. So the other thing is, I want to say, with all the work that Phil has done and all the number crunching the board has done, the new golf carts have been beginning to arrive. The sale of the old golf carts that was authorized from the board has been taken care of, and we're getting through selling those carts. Phil will also give an update under his report. The last item I have for tonight is to make sure that everybody is aware of the Village of Glenwood Easter egg hunt, which will take place on March 30th in Hickory Park from 11 a.m. to 1 o'clock. So hopefully everybody can bring their little ones out and enjoy a little bit of the Easter egg hunt. And that concludes my report for this evening, unless there's any questions from the board.
I have a question. I think we're going to, for me, I think that, can we slow it down just a little bit sometimes? Because Dion is you're really good at jumping in there. He really is. And he has all his questions. And right when I get ready to ask a question, we move on. So that's just me personally. Because I have a question about the field houses. Do we have something in place that if someone does damage a field house, that we ban them forever renting it again?
So,
do you have anything like that in place?
So one thing that Tiffany and I have discussed is that we're going to have a list that once you damage it, and as long as the board supports it, and we hope you do, that you go on a no rent list. But what we're anticipating people are going to do is if I come in and rent under Brian Mitchell and I do some damage, well then next time I'll work with my brother and Fred Mitchell and he's going to. So there are things that we want to make sure, with the money we spent, the time it took to get this, all these field houses taken care of and to maintain them, absolutely.
And the field house that's on my block, I don't know that anybody can do anything about that, but that's the smallest field house, and it's really on a residential block. So a lot of times when that one is rented, I don't know who we're renting it to, but they are wild. And they are, it's loud, and they're running all over the place, they're running the street. It takes up, we don't have a little block, it takes up all our cars on our block, and I don't know, I think that field house really has the wildest group of people.
Right.
Sometimes.
Right. Trustee Brown, what I would recommend is just like with any other area, when you feel that there's something that's not safe going on, or something that needs the attention, that you call the dispatch center, and they will call out the appropriate officer to respond to the call, and hopefully to retain the place and safety.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, Trustee Brown?
I appreciate that. Nope, thank you.
Okay, since the village engineer is not here, Are you gonna make the presentation, Brian?
Yes, so we have a couple items that are really tied together. Approval of the CDBG funds, which is the Community Development Block Grant Program for year 2024, in the amount of $400,000. Now that program is, we have to have a 10% match, which would be, as long as it's awarded. Now, if they award $300,000, then we have to match the 10% with that. When the program is done in 2024, the work won't be done until 2025. The area that the engineer has looked at is Maple Court to Tulip Court, basically about, I want to say 600, I think it was 660 feet of roadway to be repaired. So that would be the motion that we carry for both of those items. 6,600, I'm sorry.
Would somebody like to make a motion for the approval of CDBG funds, program year 2024 in the amount of $400,000?
So moved.
Trustee Williams. Trustee Clark. Is there any questions? For a question, call roll.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Clark? Trustee Lynch?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe? Yes. Trustee Taylor? Yes. Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Item 2.
And item 2 is the application for which it was approved. So we just approved the application as well.
Would somebody like to make a motion for the approval of the CDBG capital improvement, demolition, and economic development application?
So moved.
Trustee Lynch. Trustee Taylor. Any questions? For question, call roll.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Rowe?
Yes.
Trustee Taylor? Yes. Trustee Lynch?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Item 3.
The final item for approval for the engineer tonight is for the approval of the bid for tree removal located at 187th Street of Halsted. That is the area that we purchased from the Glenwood School in the amount of $8,200 for the removal of trees.
And this was the lowest responsible bidder, correct?
Correct.
So would somebody like to make approval of a bid for tree removal located at 187th Street in Halsted in the amount of $8,200? Trustee Taylor.
Second.
Trustee Lynch. Is there any questions?
I do, I have
Okay.
What is the purpose of this? So within that area, with the project that we'll be working on, the trees have to come out. One of the main issues is that there's another beetle that's coming. And so before that beetle begins to lark up, they want to get the trees removed.
What's
So the project will be able to.
What's the long ear dag?
That's.
Any additional questions? Good question, call roll.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Clark? Trustee Lynch?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe? Yes. Trustee Taylor? Yes. Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Thank you.
Department reports, fire building, Chief Welch.
Yes, Your Honor, and Board, in your packet was recommendations from the fire department for some change in staffing. We've continued to have issues with staffing in the fire department, as most fire departments do, regionally, nationally. Some of this revolves around the new national paramedic testing exam, which is difficult to pass for these youngsters. Their ability to port all of these certifications to other locations as a national certification, they get their wings here and then fly elsewhere. And a shrinking workforce. COVID didn't help us any, and now with attrition, it just seems to be sucking the life out of the workforce in the fire department, similar to the way it has in the police department. We've been working diligently to entice youngsters to get involved in this service. We currently have, the deputy chief has a program for cadets that are age 16 to 18. We have 2 resident children or youngsters here that have involved in the program, and 3 outside of our town. And they're advancing well. Our hope is we get them really bite their teeth on it and get excited about it and stay on as they're 18-year-olds, so we get them into the pay-not-call part-time division and get them trained. As soon as we get them trained up, it's always been our problem where they move on. And we really need to stabilize the workforce. It's been a great challenge, and the greatest challenge is money. We looked at all aspects of how we've been doing business. At the memorandum you saw in the package showed what we had done 28 months ago. We tried to establish the mid-management positions, entry-level mid-management. Some of what's happened there is nobody's going for that second round in the career path any longer. The hope was that you get the mid-management type people, the people who are retiring from elsewhere as lieutenants and captains, and wanted a secondary pension to come to. Now that didn't work out. Some of our young people didn't move up. Nobody wants to do the jobs, and we're trying to come up with alternatives that can bolster our workforce. So we looked at all kinds of alternatives. We looked at bonuses. That's another big thing that's happening in the fire business today. Fire and paramedic and EMS is these different towns and different private entities are offering these young people bonuses to come to work for them. They get trained up somewhere. They can go to Tinley Park maybe and get a bonus of $5,000, and then if they stay 6 months, they get another $5,000. We just didn't think that that was a long-term solution to our problem. That would be short-lived, because what happens is whatever timeline is put on that bonus, they complete that timeline and they go somewhere else to get that bonus. So it really didn't seem to be an alternative that was going to help us. Historically, we've lost a lot of people to the city of Chicago, and they're sitting right now, after the latest round of letters they put out, they're still around 800 people short on the CFD. So we know that there's more attrition or more movement coming. We now lose to our neighbors. It's not unusual to have other chiefs and other maybe deputies or officers at paramedic graduations poaching. I mean, it's kind of the highest bidder, and that's where we suffer. I haven't done any of that poaching, but if you're behind my program, I'll be the biggest poacher come 8 a.m. tomorrow. We did a lot of survey work, and joining me tonight is John Begesha, the AMR boss who runs our contract, and he was very helpful in giving me some of that information. You can see that we did surveys on both the full-time and on the contract side. For 3 years now, we've budgeted for 3 full-time entry-level mid-management that we call captains. Through many, many reasons, we haven't been able to fill those. And currently, we have no candidates in that process. We have no prospects for that. And there's no open job announcement out on the street, and that's important in just a minute. All these years we've been budgeting for those positions, 3 years now, we've budgeted $240,000 for a salary of about $79,000 each. So that money has sat in the budget, the balanced budgets all these years, and hasn't been used. What I'm proposing is on the full-time side of this contract, on the full-time side, or the civil service side of this, is to change the direction to the Fire and Police Commission rather than to hire these mid-management captains, to hire the standard firefighter paramedic. The reduction in the budget would go from $240,000 down to $220,000 because I'm projecting the salary range for that full-time firefighter paramedic they would be civil service and in the pension fund working for Village Glenwood employees. We have more control over them, and that would be at $73,000. Currently, our contract with AMR provides us with 6 paramedics and 3 EMTs. Every day there's 2 paramedics and 1 EMT. We haven't had the full-time firefighter paramedics on the village side for several years. We've barely maintained our coverages with the contract side and doing a lot of cover because they're committed by their contract to pay overtime to bring other contracts from other towns that they have over here to work ours on an overtime basis. That creates issues. I would much rather see for our residents a stable workforce with the paramedics. They know and they see because we have a lot of repeat patients. And people become comfortable with your paramedics. I think that everybody would agree, and anyone we've talked to understands or even says to us, listen, we have the best paramedic program out there. Our residents love what we do. We need to protect that. So in order to make sure we're competitive on the contract side and enhance to fill our positions, Our current contract costs us $860,987.19. We pay currently a monthly bill of $71,748.93. That's for those 6 paramedics, 3 EMTs. That's all their benefits, that's all their insurance, that's everything. That's our total cost. By going to the proposed raises that I have in here, that total contract amount, which this contract doesn't expire until February 28th of 2027. Our new contract amount would be $1,004,772.41 and a monthly of $83,731. So we're increasing our contract cost about $12,000 a month so we can fill all the positions. As you continue down in my report, you see that there's the income statements from 2023, and we show a collected amount of $516,907.51. We show an account receivable of about $900. That big difference, and Adam, I spoke to him earlier today, that's the differential between the Medicare rates that you have to bill people in order to collect that $516. And it also qualifies us then for the next topic, which I'm going to report, is the GEMT, which is the Ground Emergency Medical Transport money. We are projected as a new income for 2024. Using our last year's numbers, we will collect $229,795.88. We've already booked $57,488.12 on that GEMT collection side. So just in recapping, the budgeted side for the 3 full-time people at salary only shows a reduction of $20,000. On the village side, then, you have to also remember, like with any hire we do here in the village, you use about a 40% increase for your pension costs, your insurance, health insurance, life insurance, what else am I missing? The federal taxes and the village portion. So that's commensurate with either people in IMRF, police pension, fire pension. That's what the number crushers use. So on the contract side, this would be an increase of $143,785.22. But the GEMT incomes at $229,795 far exceeds the coverage for that difference in the contract. So
we'll be getting that every year.
The GEMT will continue year after year. We always have to qualify, but the qualification is based on, and Adam went through this as well, it's based on continuing your service and watching your pricing. The one thing we learned is on some of the equipment we buy, we should do it on a lease purchase agreement. That can be considered for part of your costing for your transport. And some people, residents, they get an ambulance bill for $1,600, $1,700. Well, the offset is whatever their insurance pays is that amount. But we all know health insurance and how screwy it is. So we have to keep our rates up there, which qualifies us for a higher level at that GEMT. And then that's how we keep that 229 or better. I'm projecting that's going to go up because already our call volume for this first quarter is higher than the first quarter of 23, and it's on a little bit of a trajectory upward, and we will have an increase in our fees, our rates as of May 1. So hopefully those numbers go up slightly. Now, I know one consideration has to be, well, why can't this hold till the budget season? Well, it can't because, I'm not going to use the word crisis, but we're probably at our lowest point of employment. You know of some of the issues we've had in the last month or so. We lost 2 people. I know one other who's kind of, I believe, hedging on this idea tonight, whether he is going to take a job he was offered in Burbank or not, or stay here. He wants to stay, but he's looking at the numbers. And so I don't mean to step out and say, no, I got to do this right now to help with the budget. I've worked budgets for you for many, many years. I've never increased the fire department budget over 3%. overall, and I have never gone over on my budgets. So I'm telling you that these numbers here fall within our budget constraints, and we will work, Ed and I have been talking about budgeting for the next year, how we're going to do that. And if you remember when I did the restructuring last time, we lowered a lot of those part-time lines and overnights and things like that, and we brought the budget back in line. So we will do that again if needed. I think that's the end of my range.
Is there something in the contract that any of the fire department use to, for a point of time that they have to sign and they have to be, they would stay in the village for a certain amount of time?
We have tried that, and I think the police chief can echo in there. We could try it, but when it's been tried and challenged, we always lose. It's not something you can hold an employee to. Many people pay back. You have to have an either-or clause. They stay or they pay. And some pay voluntarily. But if we were to do that, which I don't have a problem with that, it's a tough thing. Because when a police officer comes here, unless they're coming in lateral, they're coming in and needing the training from the chief. So he's expending a lot of money to train that employee. And that's recoverable, or at least it's an agreement he gets signed for recovery. What we're requiring is those firefighter paramedics come to us fully trained, ready to work. The contract side, they come trained and ready to work. They have to have a paramedic on the contract side. I can make them a fireman, I can't make them a paramedic. And those are the places where we can have some movement on the contract side. And I would like John just to speak, because he deals with this personnel shortage on a daily basis too, if you would, John, to talk to that problem. Thanks.
It's on.
It's on. Can you guys hear me? Hi, my name's John Bishop. Chief said I work for AMR Ambulance. We are a national company. And it's been the last 3 years with staffing has been a battle. COVID had something to do with it. In this state right here, the national test, another big struggle. A lot of people aren't coming into the business anymore. There's a lot of people leaving. COVID moved a lot of people out, the older time guys, because they didn't want to be COVID. And they just didn't come back. This isn't just Glenwood, I can let you know that. This is nationwide. My area here is Northern Illinois. I do have a number of contracts. And we are struggling, not everywhere, but the places that don't have the highest salaries are struggling. So in order for us to recruit and more powerful than that, retain the good people that we have, we need to be comparable with the wages across the board with our communities that are actually close to us. And I did give Chief Walsh some comments up right around here, what they're making, and to become comparable, I think he did give you guys the numbers that would make us.
They have it in their package, John.
Yeah, that would make us comparable to some of the surrounding areas that actually some won't even touch Glenwood.
There's a point where a small community like ours can only go so far. So what happens during that time? I think that we should probably advise the way to have them like, if you want to work with Glenwood, you have to be here specifically for a certain period of time, or that affects your bonus or your salary. Or you have to pay back.
We don't have anything like that in place.
No, we don't have a bonus or anything like that. I mean, we do, AMR does have a rule that once you're on a contract, I will not put you on another contract unless you've been there a year. But we haven't run into that. We just run into people just resigning to go to full-time fire departments that are paying more and have better benefits. Like I said, Chief doesn't like to use the word crisis, but we are staffed, it is dwindling, and we need to retain the people we have and be able to recruit some new ones as well.
I mean, I receive what you all are saying, and
somewhat makes me nervous, right, as a resident, because our job under statute is to provide police and fire and public works services, right? So we can talk about fireworks, and we can talk about all the things that we talk about money, right? But public safety, out of life, there's no dollar amount necessarily on that. And so if we're short paramedics, we're short firefighters, I think that is a crisis that we need to support. That's our job. So I understand and I appreciate you all sharing. Sometimes it's not easy to share that your department is in a crisis or that you need assistance. So I'm glad that there's transparency on that. Because if I dial 911, I would hope that someone shows up to my home within a reasonable amount of time.
Do you guys have any other questions on me?
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Yeah.
So, Chief, I got a few questions. The GEMT grant that you said, where we essentially already recorded 57,000, have we received that yet?
No, and that's, Ed and I were speaking about that. It's very convoluted, and maybe he can speak to the history. This is our first year in it. I believe he has history on it from previous years. That GEMT is what I explained to you, where you get full credit. The money gets distributed from the state up to us. And then we have to hold it in accounting, which we need to research a little bit, because at some particular point in time, the state is going to bill us for 50% back. Now, my number at 229 is the 50%, but we're going to hold 558 in some account, or we're going to hold 229 in some account, and we're going to keep 229 to be used. We also have to drill down, which I haven't had a chance to get to Brian, but Adam and I were speaking of, there's a monthly, I'll call it a warrant, that comes from our collection agency, our AMR, Medical Billing Service, and we haven't quite tracked that monthly to make sure that our billings are, because that 500 I believe should be in our accounts.
See, because that's what I was going, that was going to be the part two. So how do we know, because even looking at the paperwork, how do we know if, when we have a contract, if you will, employed, if we're paying or if the ambulance service is paying them?
Oh, the salary and payroll is completely separate. The only thing I'm talking about is our income stream. I'm only talking our income stream. They pay their salary. We don't pay anybody. We just write one check a month to them. They do everything.
So in the application for the GEP, all the costs of the fire department are included in that. And that's where you'll recapture formula based to where the state then determines the supplemental income above Medicaid. So typically you get $600 for Medicaid transports.
It's up a little bit now, 662 or something.
Okay. Whereas if you're billing, you said 1,500.
15 to 17 on an ALS.
What GMT is, it bridges that gap between 1,500 and 600.
Okay. So, Chief, I know we approved this restructure less than 2 years ago.
No, 28 months ago.
Huh?
28 months ago.
So a little over 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So what's the significant difference between, because the whole purpose of that, my understanding was staff to fill the holes of this shortage that we're having. So how does...
And create stability. So when, in the last 2 months, as I re-examined the whole world of the fire department, as you all know, we had to drill down to the basics and figure out where we needed to fill those holes. We're unable to attract those mid-level managers because they're just retiring. Attrition, they're not staying in the business. They, and I think Jack could articulate this as well, the only jobs a retiree is going to take now, even if he's a young retiree at 50, they used to take other jobs as captains and shift officers elsewhere to start a new pension life. But now the only thing they'll take is a chief or a deputy chief because they don't want to work on shift. Because now the call volume has gotten so great where they're up we're averaging sometimes 8, 9, 10 calls a day And some of those are happening after 5 o'clock at night, like right now, they're on 3 calls.
So is the hope with these positions that you're asking for the increase in, to fill them with specifically, I don't know if the right term is officers?
No.
So you're fine with filling these with recruits right out of the academy?
With certification.
So.
And I did spend, the mayor and I and the deputy chief spent a considerable amount of time, the chairman of the police commission, and went through the program. We went through the perils of the previous program and figured out some of the faults. And he's in support of a program of this to reduce these back to the entry-level firefighter paramedic.
So what was the, because I couldn't find it, but what was the increase from the previous restructure for these positions till now?
It's a decrease. We had penciled these in at a salary of $79,000 for the captain paramedic, and so I budgeted for the last 3 years now $240,000. What I'm projecting now is to get these salaries. I believe it's at 73, and that would drop us down to $220,000 budget number. So it's actually I reduced the salary line to get qualified people in.
So what will, but this also, like you said, it's going to increase the pension by at least 40%.
Not just pension, no. Pension's probably, the employee pays 9.265 or 625.
For over.
But the 40% is all of our costs, health insurance,
right,
life insurance, the liability, the federal taxes. So that's everything. Your pension, on the fire police pension, I believe in that, Adam may have a better idea, I think probably 22% of it. Annually, the actuary will tell you what that number is.
And just so for my clarity, with Kurtz, how much did our contract with them from last year to this year increase? It was a significant amount.
No, it's in there. It's in your packet. Hold on. I'll get it. So, the last year's contract was $839,987.50, and the contract we're currently in now as of March 1 is $860,987.19. So it went up about 21,000 almost exact annual.
You said last year's was $89,000?
$839,987.50. And our current year that we just started March 1 is now $860,987.19. So about, what did I just say? 20,000.
So I guess my question here, increase in contracting with this service, having them doesn't negate the need, because I guess also when you look at salary, then you look at the benefits associated with it, and we're also going up every year with contracted service. So having them won't. Why is not having this contract?
This is, and it's a good question, and I can answer. And I have to answer it in a staffing format. So, unfortunately for us, we have a village that's divided by a railroad, very active railroad track. And I don't have much of a choice but to staff an ambulance on either side of this village. So if you see, if I've got, on the staffing side of Kurtz right now, on a daily basis, I get 2 paramedics and an EMT daily. So what am I lacking? I'm lacking another paramedic because I have to have 2 on each ambulance on either side. I take one down to a paramedic and an EMT, the other one has 2 paramedics. So the next logical question would be, well, why hire our own on the on the civil service side? Why not hire all contract? Just have them provide all our people. I don't recommend that to you as the Board of Trustees and me as your hired professional, because I need somebody looking out for the best interest of Glenwood. And those are your 3 full-time employees that are hired under the auspices and by the direction of the Fire Police Commission. Those are your chosen people that when I'm not there, are watching out for our best interest. And over the many years I've been here, those are the likes of George Spanier, Terry Campbell, Gary Owens, who looked out for our residents, and they have a history there they've got. That's what I want to create again, is our own presence in those ambulance. I don't take anything away from the contract people. They're the best people we have. And if you walk into my firehouse, you will not tell who's on the contract, who's on the part-time, who's there for the day helping out. You won't know because we treat everybody equal. And they're all respected that way. But we, as the board, now have a vested interest in who's watching the hen house.
You know, I like Terry. Terry was here during Terry. And I understand.
He's retired, but he'll come back.
Terry's never retired.
He actually works for John still.
I'm just stuck between having, and it was my same concern with the firm that's coming in to help us with our finances, right?
I think to answer your question is, we could definitely go back to AMR and say, give me another.
Because what was the increase? What was the $21,000 for? What did that increase do for us? Is it just?
Well, everybody has a salary range, which is what we create for our own as well. Similar to the steps in a police contract or anywhere else. We're gonna show that when we do budgeting. I'm not even looking at that right now. This is what I gotta do right now. But the 21, you're saying the increase over 2023 and 2024, that was because we had some longer term medics. Their cost of doing business went up, their insurance, all that stuff. So that was that $20,000 increase.
Is there any other questions?
So, one last thing. Go ahead, Ron. Take your time.
What is the amount?
What's that? Retention. I believe that's something, I'll ask the commission about that, and Mr. Moore, and see if we can't come up with an agreement. Chief Petticourt, do you currently have the recruit sign one for repayment, or we did one time?
We have them sign a training reimbursement.
We'll do the same. Training reimbursement.
Makes me happy.
Huh? That's what I'm here for.
Chief, so when is the new contract with Hertz?
It started March 1st. These new implemented steps for them wouldn't go into effect till April 1.
And we would still be getting the same amount of personnel
Yes.
with these March ones.
Correct.
And so has the Finance Committee or the Fire Police Commission looked at this?
Fire Police Commission has finances, not because, as I reported in there, I don't mean to sidestep that, but time is of the essence, number one. And number two, I thought I was pretty articulate on I'm reducing the cost in the budget side, while I'm increasing the cost on the contract side. I'm showing you that additional incomes on the GEMT, which we've never had before, which is $229. The contract increase is $179. So you're about $50,000 to the good. So it is not a net negative to the budgets.
You're waiting until Finance Committee or draft budget comes with Hertz.
Devastatus. And I, don't take my word for it because I see the question, but ask AMR.
Is there any other questions? Okay, would somebody like to make a motion for approval of fire department's admin realignment, salary adjustment as indicated in the packet at a rate of $73,000? Trustee Taylor, do we have a second?
Second.
Trustee Roll, any additional questions? For question, call roll.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Taylor? Yes. Trustee Roll? Yes. Trustee Lynch?
I'm going to abstain for the simple fact I'd like only to see a recommendation from the Finance Committee or preliminary budget. And I wholeheartedly respect the fact that we need this. And from what I received but I think that if we look at the process, we should just have a recommendation from those committees. Outside of that, I think it's a fantastic idea, but I'd like to see a recommendation from the Finance Committee.
Trustee Clark?
I would like to say yes with the stipulation of the caveat to be added.
The reimbursement. Yes, sir.
Trustee Brown?
If that is added, absolutely, yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Glenwood Golf, Bill Robbins.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. To follow up on Brian Mitchell's comment about the carts, we did receive our final shipment this past Saturday, so we're at our full capacity of 74 carts ready to go. With that,
Very nice cards, Phil.
they are very nice.
They are.
So seeking approval for the 2024 golf rates as recommended by the golf committee. That should have been in your packet. It was an average about 7% increase across the board.
Did you receive the card yet?
Yeah. Yeah. See, we fall into it, so nice. Yes, you should. So would somebody like to make a motion approving the 2024 golf rates as recommended by the golf committee as in the packet? Trustee Roll.
Second.
Trustee Clark. Do you have any questions?
I didn't see the golf
I don't know.
recommendation.
So,
It should have been in there. There was also a spreadsheet with competing courses rates as well.
So is the reason for the increase just for market rate increase or competitiveness or just?
Pay for these cards. But yes, it's an increase. We're staying within competition with our area courses, but obviously we have to go up a little bit to justify the new cards.
any other questions? Your question, call roll.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Taylor? Yes. Trustee Williams?
Just to add one more thing, these are advertised rates.
We're trying to catch up now. We didn't,
Yes.
none of us got to see it.
This is the very end.
Yes,
We looked there, we didn't have it.
It's right on
that's the last three pages.
I'm sorry, I do have one copy here if you'd like.
I have the proposed sheet of recommendation.
Previous year, I'm not.
You know, I do apologize. This was when we originally went to you guys for the approval of the carts. That was at the board meeting, that was at the committee meeting that these were discussed as well, but we decided because of the situation with the carts and trying to get the equipment, we could put off these because it wasn't at a timely manner, so we held these off for another, the next board meeting. But it was discussed back in the January golf committee meeting.
And I attended that meeting, and so I think that that's where some of the rates were shared. And what I witnessed during that meeting is that these rates were compared with other courses. They were also increasing as well. And for the new golf carts as well, the ones that we just approved. And I think we also approved equipment at our last board meeting.
Trustee Lynch? Trustee Lynch? Trustee Rowe?
Yes.
Trustee, okay.
Okay, is there any new business? Any old business?
Okay. I sent an email for closed session, and I wasn't here to discuss some questioning.
And there's a reason for that.
Sorry about that.
Can't go wants to say something. He's got his report in the back.
Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn? Everybody want to stick around? Trustee Roll, Trustee Taylor. Her question, call roll.
Trustee Brown?
Sure.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Lynch? Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe? Yes. Trustee Taylor? Yes.